Well, hello everybody. Welcome to Make It a Simple. Pastor Andy here. Hope you're doing great on this beautiful Tuesday and are off to the races, wherever they may lead you. We've been looking at the differentials of faith and fear. And obviously, they're on two separate ends of the spectrum, two completely different things. However, one of the things that we see in life today is unfortunately many more don't operate because of fear rather than placing trust in their faith, which actually leads us to the question of what are you having faith in? Because if your faith is merely based in another person, in a system, in a celebrity or a politician or even a religion, if you just looked at that from a surface standpoint, it's not going to give you anything to walk with, to work with, to build on. There's no foundation there. It's all just words and symbols and promises that most likely aren't going to be kept. We can only place our faith in one, and that's Christ, because he's fulfilled everything that he said that he would do, and that's always been. Even when we look back to these old accounts in the Old Testament, now some people discount because it's old. We hear the word old and immediately shut down rather than new. But we wouldn't have the new if it weren't for the old. We wouldn't understand the new if it weren't for the things that were set forth in the old. We even see that in industries today and in different parts of life. Many today discount those that paved the way. But if it weren't for those who came before, you couldn't do what you do now and or have what you have now, because it would have never been established. If we look back to this text from Joshua chapter 3, we see they're on this mission, they're on this journey, they're about to cross the Jordan. They were told when they saw the Ark of the Covenant, that was the sign to go. This was the sign of the presence of God, saying, okay, you can follow this, because they were being told this out of remembrance of when the cloud went before them and the fire went before them. What they were being told here is, you can trust that all will be well. You can trust that all will be well because of having faith in his promise. Moving forward is possible. We wrestle with that today. Many do. How can I get to tomorrow? How can I get to this afternoon? Because of this has crippled me, and this has strangled me, and this has held me in place. Never ever realizing we have to let those things go. We have to stop giving those things ownership in our life, allowing faith to remove fear. And there's always fear, we all have it. But allowing our faith to remove that allows us to take a step in the right direction, a step toward the finish line, a step toward progress. It changes things. We see the instruction here that they were to keep a distance when they saw the ark. And this was about a half a mile. What is that speaking of? There's several things there. Number one is respect. The holiness of God demands that. It demands that type of reverence that we, and again, we've lost that today. So much is so disrespectful today. Whether it's in fashion, people walking around just in just shambles, and that's not to call judgment on anyone, and not to say that everyone has the highest qualities, but regardless of what you've got, I don't wear clothes from wherever the fanciest store is, and I don't even know. I mean, most of my stuff comes right off the rack at Walmart, but it's clean and it's not ragged, and it's worn to where My body's not exposed, because people don't want to see that. That's for home and private times with your spouse. That's not for be walking around in the store with yourself out all over the place. We don't see reverence about anything anymore. We don't see reverence in the house of God anymore. Now I'm not legalistic. I'm not saying everybody's got to have on a coat and tie, but nothing's sacred anymore. We've lost so much stuff. But what the message here is found in the verse. Is it says that you may know. So they're saying you keep a reverence, you keep a distance, you keep watching the ark as it goes by, so that you may know which way to go. Because you've never been this way before. What a beautiful, beautiful message to understand what he's saying here. God goes before us. Think about that. He goes before us. He wanted them to clearly see which way to go, because it was an unknown place. He didn't want them to have fear. He wanted them to trust him. How many blessings do we miss on a daily basis because we've allowed fear to steal our vision? We've allowed fear to steal our joy, and we stay at the starting gate. The pistol's already been fired, the whistle's already been blown, but we don't know what's around the corner. But God has already gone before us, and he's already said, follow me. He didn't want them to have fear. He wanted them to trust him. He wanted them to have faith in his promise, because they said to Joshua, we'll go where you say go. We'll do as you say do, because we believe that God has spoken to you just as he did to Moses, and he gave Moses the promise to never leave. So we believe that he has given that to you. But yet still there's hesitation. Yet still there's that, how is this going to be possible? I mean, you said we're going to cross the river, yet still the river is raging. It's flooding out of the banks. How is that possible? See, we get stuck at reasoning today. You know, how was this? How was that? Oh, it must have been this, must have been that. I once had a lady really in a panic, very upset. She said, I don't believe in the 6-day creation. I said, okay. What's the hold up there? What's really upsetting you? She said, I just don't see how that's possible. I said, okay, what the time frame? She said, yes. She said, how could it be possible that everything that we see, because John chapter 1 says all that was created by him. And she said, how was that possible in 6 days? I said, well, we don't know what that means time frame wise. Was it literally 6 24-hour days? Some argue that. Was it, as scripture later says, a day is 1,000 years to God? Was it periods of 1,000 years? I don't know. All the experts want to claim all the billions and millions and this stuff. Here's the bottom line, and this is exactly what I told her. I said, let me ask you this one question. Do you believe that God did it? She said, absolutely. I said, then that's all that matters. Why are we going to get in arguments and divisionary things over things that we don't have the answer to? We cannot claim an expertise because we don't know. We just need to trust God. He said, I'm going before you. And he did. He was sending the ark before them. We're going to cross the river. But how? Just trust me, because different ones of you and some in your generation walked across with Moses. Could God not do it again? Do we think that God's promises have expired, friends? I mean, will he still not go with us? Will he still not go lead the way? He will, if we'll get out of the way. We've got to move from fear to faith in order to follow him. Because if we're allowing fear to go first, we don't follow. We don't take that first step. We don't build any trust. We've got to move from fear to faith if we're going to follow Him, because God doesn't operate in fear. I think we're going to leave it there today. I had hoped to finish this lesson, but we'll get one more out of it tomorrow. But that's a good point to stop on and a good point to ponder. If you're going to follow Him, you have to get out of the way. God bless you. I'll see you tomorrow.